Welcome back, my beautiful people, to another glass of Hearts Wine from Heart's Distractions, a podcast where we sip on the joys and the messiness of love, relationships, and everything in between. I'm your host, Alicia Minor Gaines, and today we're pouring into something that every single couple, whether you've just started dating or been married 20 years, has bumped into. You know, apologies. Yep, we're coming back there again this week. Now, but I want to ask y'all something. Have you ever got an apology that felt about as filling as eating one potato chip? You know, the I'm sorry you feel that way kind of apology where instead of making you feel better, it makes you want to throw the whole person out with yesterday's leftovers? Yep, we've all been there. Today's episode is titled When Sorry Isn't Enough. What happens when apologies feel empty? And trust me, we are about to dig into the psychology, the emotions, the generational patterns, and the cultural influences behind those two little words, I'm sorry, and why sometimes they just don't cut it. This is going to be a mix of real talk, of course, some therapy gems, a little controversy, some laughter, and of course, those emotional wines we always uncork when we're talking about love and connection. Because sometimes our tears are the wine we drink as we learn, heal, and grow. So grab your glass, whether it's wine, water, or that iced latte you're surviving on today, and let's dive deep. But before we get started, let me remind you, go and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Hearts Wine from Heart's Distractions on YouTube, so you can get those exclusive episodes and content that's going to be coming soon. Visit our website at www.aliciasdistractions.com for more resources and updates. Go and purchase a copy of my poetry book, Distractions of the Heart, on Amazon. And last but not least, don't forget to follow us on social media on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. All right, y'all. Y'all ready? Let's get into it. But let's start with the basics, shall we? What even makes an apology fail? Here's the thing. Most people think an apology is just about saying the words, but a true apology is like making a recipe. If you leave out the key ingredients, it just doesn't work. Now, I'm a foodie, if some of y'all didn't know. So let me give you an example. Imagine making mac and cheese, which is one of my favorites. And yes, I do know how to make good mac and cheese. But leaving out the cheese, that's an empty apology. It looks like the dish, but when you bite into it, yep, you got it. A huge pile of disappointment. So, what happens when you hear an apology that's really a non-apology? I'm going to give y'all a few examples, which sounds like, I'm sorry you feel that way. Translation, this isn't about me. It's about your sensitive behind. Yep, I said it. Mistakes were made. Translation, not by me though, so don't look my way. That's what they're really saying. And last but not least, if I hurt you, I'm sorry. Translation, I'm not admitting I did hurt you. I'm just acknowledging the possibility that I hurt you. I'm gonna let that one sit there. Marriage and family therapy research tells us that apologies only work if they acknowledge harm directly. And clearly none of those statements acknowledge that, right? Without accountability, they can actually make wounds deeper. Bet some of y'all didn't know that. But according to Dr. John Gottman, the marriage whisperer himself, the ability to prepare after conflict is one of the biggest predictors of long-term relationship success. But here's the catch. Those repairs have to feel real. If your partner thinks you're brushing them off, you're not repairing. You're cracking the foundation even more. Can I give y'all an example of a couple? We're going to call them Kevin and Maya. Okay? Kevin has a sharp tongue, y'all. He'll snap when he's stressed. Maya tells him that his tone makes her feel small. Kevin apologizes every single time with the, "Sorry, babe, I didn't mean it." But guess what? The very next argument, the same tone, the same sharpness. Maya told me once in a session, at this point, his apologies are just noise. I can't tell the difference between "I'm sorry" and him asking what's for dinner. That's what happens when sorry doesn't come with change, y'all. It's like Monopoly money. It looks like currency, but you can't buy a damn thing with it. Not even trust. Y'all, some people's apologies are like those free samples at Costco. Just enough to make you think you're getting something, but never enough to fill you up. And I can say I just got me a Costco membership, y'all. I'm a member, and yes, they got samples, and no, it didn't fill me up. So I promise you, that's what it feels like. But can I drop this gem on you real quick? A 2019 study in the Journal of Family Psychology found that apologies without behavior change were associated with increased resentment over time. In other words, saying sorry without doing better can actually make your partner less forgiving in the long run. So here's the truth bomb. An apology isn't just words. It's accountability, empathy, and action wrapped into one. Without all three, it's empty calories. I'm going to let that sink in. But can we talk about something most couples have never thought about? Have y'all ever heard of apology languages? Well, we all know what love languages are, right? Words of affirmation, acts of service, all that good stuff. If you haven't, go check out my earlier podcast episodes. It breaks it all down for you, I promise. But did you know there are apology languages too? Yes, by the lovely Dr. Gary Chapman and Dr. Jennifer Thomas. Breaking it down for us, y'all, into 5 different categories. And guess who about to share those categories with y'all today? Yours truly. So let's get into it. The first one, expressing regret, which sounds like I feel awful about what I did. The second one, accepting responsibility, which sounds like I was wrong, period. The third one, making restitution, which sounds like what can I do to make this right? The fourth one, genuinely repenting. Now that one sounds interesting, y'all. And this one sounds like I'm changing my behavior moving forward. And last but not least, requesting forgiveness, which of course sounds like, can you forgive me? The problem? Well, we all value these differently. Can I break it down in a short story of a couple? We're going to call them Alex and Jordan, who've been together for about 8 years. So Alex grew up in a household where nobody ever admitted fault. So for Alex, hearing I was wrong feels huge. Jordan, on the other hand, grew up in a family where apologies meant action. So when Alex just says the words, Jordan's like, okay, but when are you going to do something? So every time they fight, Alex feels like Jordan doesn't appreciate their vulnerability. And Jordan feels like Alex is all talk. They're apologizing in 2 completely different languages. Did y'all catch that? Okay. Well, in therapy, we often have couples take the apology languages quiz. You'd be surprised how many realize for the first time that they've been talking past each other for years. And research shows that apologies are more likely to be accepted when they match the injured partner's preferred style of apology. That means if your partner needs to see action, you can't just say sorry. You need to follow through with concrete steps. It's kind of like me showing up to brunch with a mimosa when my friend specifically asks for a Bloody Mary. Cute effort, but not what they needed, right? So I want some of you to ask your partners, what do you need to hear or see from me to know I'm genuinely sorry? That question alone can change the way you handle conflict in your relationship. I promise you. But here's the takeaway. Apologies are like love. They're not one size fits all. Learn your partner's apology language or you might keep missing the mark. Now, can I add another layer? Because how we say sorry isn't just about us. It's shaped by where we come from. Think about your childhood. Did you ever hear your parents apologize to each other? To you? Or did they just keep it moving, swept it under the rug, and pretended nothing happened? If you grew up in a no apology household, chances are you either struggle to say sorry or you over apologize because you're trying to break the cycle. In some cultures, apologizing is a sign of honor and humility, while in others, it's seen as weakness. I'm going to give you an example here. In Japanese culture, apologies are often formalized and highly valued as a way of restoring social harmony. While in Western cultures, especially for men, apologizing can be seen as giving up power. I'm going to let that one sink in while I give you this example. A client of mine that I had come into session, we're going to call her Angela. So Angela's father never apologized, ever. In her words, my dad could break a glass over your favorite toy, and instead of saying sorry, he'd say, you shouldn't have put it there. Now, Angela's in her 30s, married to Vanessa. Every time Angela messes up, she gets defensive. Not because she doesn't love Vanessa, but because her whole body has been wired to see apology as weakness. This is why therapy and or relationship coaching often involves unlearning the patterns of silence, pride, or defensiveness that got passed down and showing you how to actually change that pattern for yourself in real time. Can I give y'all a quote? My favorite poet, Maya Angelou, said, do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. Apologies are part of that knowing better. I'm going to sit that one there for some people who need to soak that in. Because some of us had parents who thought, I made you dinner was an apology. Ma'am, this plate of spaghetti doesn't erase the emotional trauma. Just saying. In a study from the Journal of Cross-Cultural Psychology, they found that cultures that emphasize collective harmony value apologies more deeply as tools of reconciliation, while individualistic cultures tend to see them as optional. So the truth bomb here is, if your partner struggles to apologize, it might not be stubbornness. It might be generational or cultural conditioning they've never examined because they didn't go to therapy. All right, y'all. Let me get a little more real for you, because not all apologies are innocent. Sometimes sorry becomes a whole weapon. You know what I'm talking about. The cycle that goes hurt, to apologize, to repeat, to resentment. Yup. The sorry cycle, y'all. When a partner says sorry just to shut the argument down, but doesn't actually mean it, that's not repair. That's emotional manipulation. And here are some examples of manipulation type apologies. I said I'm sorry. What more do you want? Can't you just get over it? Or worse, the guilt trip apology, y'all. Which sounds like, wow, I can never do anything right for you, can I? Notice how those statements center the apologizer, not the person who was hurt. All right, I'm going to give y'all an example of this. Can we go back and revisit Maya and Kevin for a second? Y'all remember him, the husband with the sharp tongue? Well, Maya told me in a session, at this point, I can't tell if Kevin apologizes because he's actually sorry or because he doesn't want to sleep on the couch. That's the sorry cycle at work, y'all. Maya's needs aren't being addressed. Kevin's just trying to escape discomfort. All right, so I'm going to drop this gem on y'all. A 2020 survey in Family Relations Journal revealed that 70% of couples reported that repeated empty apologies actually increased conflict over time. Instead of healing wounds, they created layers of resentment. Some folks treat sorry like Febreze. They spray it over the mess and hope nobody notices the trash still sitting in the corner. Let that one sink in. But here's another dangerous version. Gaslighting apologies. This is when the person apologizing makes you feel like you're the problem for still being hurt, which sounds like, I apologized already. Why are you still mad? And or you're too sensitive. Those are not apologies. Those are deflections. And here's the takeaway. That truth bomb. I know it's going to hurt, but hear me on this one. If sorry doesn't come with changed behavior, it's not an apology. It's manipulation disguised as remorse. I'm going to let that one sink in. And while I'm letting that sink in, ask yourselves this question. So how do we move from empty words to real healing? Well, the answer is accountability, empathy, and action. Emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize your partner's feelings, validate them, and respond appropriately. Without it, sorry falls flat. When we apologize, it's not enough to say, I hurt you. We have to show that we understand how we hurt them, why it matters, and what we're going to do differently. In marriage and family therapy, we often use what's called restorative conversations. Can I break down the steps for y'all? Step 1 is being able to acknowledge the harm. Step 2, validate your partner's feelings. Step 3, state what you'll do differently. And step 4, ask what your partner needs from you. Sounds simple, right? But when practiced consistently, it's transformative, I promise you. Can I bring this home with a couple story just to show you how this works? So we're going to call this couple Lewis and Marco. A married LGBTQ plus couple, yes. Lewis kept forgetting important dates, anniversaries, birthdays, even their engagement date, y'all. Marco felt unimportant, even invisible. But at first, Lewis would just say, sorry, I'm bad with dates. But after therapy, Lewis started writing reminders, setting calendar alerts, and even planning little surprise gestures. Marco even told me it wasn't the words that mattered. It was finally seeing Lewis prioritize me through action. Y'all, that's what healing looks like. If you tell your partner you'll do better, but don't follow through, that's like telling the waiter you're on a diet while ordering cheesecake, fries, and a side of regret. I said it. Now let me drop another gem for y'all. Dr. Susan Johnson, founder of Emotionally Focused Therapy, found that successful apologies involve both emotional connection and concrete change, y'all. Couples who practice repair rituals were significantly more likely to stay together long term. I'm going to let that one sink in, because I don't know if y'all heard that. So basically, to be effective here, you have to be specific. Instead of, I'm sorry I hurt you, say, I'm sorry I raised my voice. It was disrespectful. Also, show some consistency. One good apology doesn't erase 10 repeat offenses. Come on now. I'm speaking to somebody out there. And last but not least, ask. Don't assume. Say, what can I do to help you heal? What's the takeaway here? Real apologies aren't just spoken, they're lived. All right. Y'all know I don't like to just talk theory, right? Let's make this practical a little bit. Here are some exercises you and your partner can try this week. Yeah, I'm throwing the steps out there for y'all, so get your pen and paper because I'm about to run it down for you. The first one, rewrite the apology exercise. Take a real apology you gave, maybe one that didn't land well, and rewrite it with accountability and empathy. For example, instead of, I'm sorry you're mad, try, I'm sorry I interrupted you during dinner. I wasn't respecting your voice and I want to do better. Didn't that sound better? I'm sure it did. The next one, journal prompts. It's always a good one, y'all. Write a letter of accountability to your partner. Write about a time you received an empty apology and how did it affect you. These journal prompts are good, I promise you, because it's going to unpack a lot of things. The third one, role play reflection. Who don't like a little role play in their life? Partners take turns apologizing while the other practices active listening. Listener repeats back what they heard, which sounds like, so you're saying you regret raising your voice and you'll work on pausing before responding. This ensures both sides feel heard, y'all. I promise you. Because you're putting yourself in a space to listen while the other person is speaking. And you're able to paraphrase back what you heard for understanding, which is so important to the other person. But here's your homework. For 1 week, yes, I said 1 whole week, keep track of every small repair attempt. Hugs after conflict, texts that say, I'm thinking of you, little apologies, those kinds of things. And at the end of the week, talk about which ones felt real and which ones felt empty. Let me be clear. Please don't turn this into a competition like, I apologized 3 times this week, so I win. No, this isn't Uno. You can't just stack your sorries, okay? I'm just saying. Because the takeaway here is practicing apology skills intentionally can rebuild trust faster than waiting for big conflicts to blow up. All right, y'all. Now, y'all know I'm about to stir the pot a little because I love a little controversial conversation. So let's talk about the red flags of apology failure. Red flag number 1, the sorry without change. If your partner apologizes repeatedly but keeps doing the same thing, that's not growth. That's a pattern. And the question you need to be asking yourself is, do I feel safer after their apology or just stuck in a loop? Red flag number 2, of course, blame shifting. And if you didn't get to listen to my last episode, you might want to go back and get a deeper view of what apology versus blame shifting looks like. And it sounds like this. When sorry comes with finger pointing, which sounds like I'm sorry, but if you hadn't, you fill in the blanks. That's not an apology. That's gaslighting with blame shifting, y'all. Just throwing it in there. And red flag number 3, which I think most people miss, which is pressure to forgive instantly. Come on now, I'm speaking the truth today. Because healthy apologies respect your timeline. If your partner said sorry, so you have to forgive me right now, that's coercion, not accountability. I know I'm preaching today, y'all. But I got some controversial questions also that I want y'all to be thinking about. And that first one sounds like, should you stay? Because let's be real. If you're in a relationship where apologies are always empty, you have to ask, is this repairable or am I clinging to hope that isn't there? I'll let that one sit there. Controversial question number 2 Sounds like unlimited second chances. Are we giving those out? I don't know. Let's find out. Because this is where things get heated. Should couples keep forgiving repeated empty apologies? My take? Forgiveness is grace, but grace without boundaries turns into what? Self-betrayal. I'm going to leave that there for some of y'all that don't know how to set boundaries and stay firm with them. And the last one, controversial question number 3. Yes, I'm surrounding this around gender and LGBTQ plus dynamics, y'all. Because research shows that women and LGBTQ plus partners are often pressured more heavily to accept apologies and move on, while men are more socially excused for repeat offenses. I think some of the questions need to be, why do we place the burden of forgiveness on certain groups? And how do we shift this narrative? All right, I'm going to bring this home with a couple story. Of course, you know. I'm going to name this couple Tanya and Chris. Tanya kept apologizing for everything, y'all. Even things she didn't do wrong. And I know some of y'all asking, why? Well, because Chris would withhold affection until she gave in. That's not a healthy cycle. That's manipulation disguised as reconciliation. Let that one soak in. While I'm letting that soak in, I'm going to drop this gem on y'all. The American Association for Marriage and Family Therapy notes that red flags and apology cycles are major predictors of eventual separation if not addressed. Takeaway here is sorry without change is a red flag, not a repair. Pay attention because patterns tell the truth louder than words, y'all. And everybody has a pattern. But can we talk about forgiveness here? Because apologies and forgiveness are like two dance partners. One can't move forward without the other. But here's the thing. Forgiveness is not forgetting. Forgiveness is not blind trust. Forgiveness is not letting someone walk over you repeatedly. So many couples confuse forgiveness with wiping the slate clean. But if your partner keeps repeating the same offense, forgiveness without boundaries just sets you up for disappointment. As author and researcher Brené Brown says, forgiveness is not forgetting or walking away. It's about choosing to rise strong and set boundaries that honor ourselves. I felt that one in my spirit, y'all. And because I did, I must share a couple stories with you to bring that one home. We're going to call this couple Daryl and Priya. Daryl cheated early in their relationship, y'all. Priya chose to forgive, but not in a way that ignored the past. Together, they set new rules for transparency, sharing phone passwords, being honest about schedules, and checking in emotionally. Priya once told me during a session, and I won't forget it, forgiveness gave me peace, but boundaries gave me safety. Hello. Listen, forgiving without boundaries is like loaning your cousin money over and over when you know they're going to forget to pay you back. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, that's on me. Right? Okay. Studies from the Journal of Marriage and Family Therapy show that couples who practice forgiveness with conditions, meaning they forgive but set clear boundaries, are more likely to recover from betrayal long term than those who either never forgive or forgive without limits. What's the takeaway here? I'm going to tell you. Forgiveness is powerful, but without boundaries, it's just giving someone permission to hurt you again and again and again. So, you know I love bringing in real life stories because nothing teaches us like learning from one another, right? Okay, so I'm going to give y'all some stories here. So, Sierra wrote me and said, my girlfriend apologizes for everything. Being late, forgetting a call, even if I sigh too loudly. But the thing is, her over apologies make me feel like she's not really taking responsibility, just trying to shut me up. Well, over apologizing can be just as harmful as under apologizing. Why, you ask? Because it cheapens the weight of I'm sorry. Follow me, y'all. We're going to call this couple Omar and Mai, who are engaged, of course, and struggled because Omar grew up in a household where saying sorry was rare. To him, it meant loss of respect. Mai grew up in a family where apologies were daily rituals of care. Their conflicts were constant until they both learned that their apology differences were cultural, not personal. Therapy helped them see that compromise doesn't mean losing identity. It means creating a new shared language. Take that one home with you. I'm going to give y'all one more. We're going to call this couple Jay and Malik. A gay couple faced years of conflict over finances, y'all. Malik overspent constantly, always apologizing, never changing. But finally, Jay said, I don't need your sorry. I need your spreadsheet. Hello. Well, Malik agreed to go to financial counseling, y'all. And over time, Jay said his actions became the real apology. As you hear these stories, I want you to ask yourself, in my own relationship, do my apologies look like words or do they look like change? I'm going to let that one sink in. As we've uncorked a lot today, you've learned a whole lot about apologies. But let's swirl the glass one more time and recap the key points, shall we? What did y'all learn? Y'all learned that empty apologies don't heal, they harm. You learned apology languages matter, and if you're speaking one language while your partner speaks another, you're going to keep missing each other. You learned generational and cultural patterns run deep. You know, if your parents never said sorry, you might struggle to say it yourself or expect your partner to read your mind. You learned sorry without change is manipulation. You know, accountability matters more than the words. And last but not least, you learned forgiveness is powerful, but only when paired with boundaries. And here's the heart of it. Love is not about being flawless. It's about being accountable. Real apologies aren't about perfection. They're about connection, repair, and the willingness to do better. So the next time you hear, I'm sorry you feel that way, I want you to pause, take a sip of wine, and say, try again, boo. That one didn't hit home, and tell them Alicia sent you. And while you do that, take yourself and them over to my YouTube channel and subscribe to Hearts Wine from Hearts Distractions. Visit my website at www.aliciasdistractions.com. Purchase that copy of my poetry book, Distractions of the Heart, on Amazon. And of course, follow us on social media on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. And at the end of the day, I want y'all to take this home. Apologies are not just words. They're a promise to do better, to love better, to grow better. And if sorry isn't enough, then maybe it's time to ask yourself whether the love in your relationship is being built on action or just on noise. Because accountability, my friends, is the true love language. So until next time, raise those glasses and let's get back to the heart. And as always, cheers.